I've been dieting since year 1997. That's a long time, right? That's a super long time. I've experimented with so many things out there. Today, I'm going to be letting you know why my way of eating is superior to any diet out there. So let's dive right into it. When you hear the word diet, immediately that probably brings up a visceral reaction within you of, oh, I hate dieting. I can't wait for this to be done. That's how I used to be. Calorie cuts, macronutrient cuts, taking out fat all the way, taking out carbohydrates all the way. Think about this, guys. You have nutrition. Okay, that's a separate realm. Then what I teach with the fasting is a separate realm. Fasting is a principle. There's nobody on the planet that shouldn't, adults I'm speaking about, should not be fasting, at least periodically. Any excuse not to fast is based in fear, complete fear. I might lose muscle. I'm going to starve. I'm going to wreck my metabolic rate. I need my protein. I'm a protein monster. It's all nonsense. So let's see what happens. I've got some notes here with you. I'm going to give you one mindset flip, maybe two at the end if you stay all the way to the end. That'll transform the way you eat, especially if you're trying to lose fat, forever. So that's going to be at the end. Think about a traditional diet. Let's explain physiologically and psychologically why they are terrible. First off, guys, dieting the way that you know it, being in a deficit, has over a 95% failure rate. What do I mean by that? When you're dieting, you might lose initial weight, but the failure rate is off the charts. You regain all that weight and then some. Trust me, not only based on the science, which I don't put much stock in science. Science follows the truth. It tries to validate the truth. Science is wrong more than 50% of the time. So keep that in mind. Because you're going to get all these trolls and whatnot. Where's the science? And that brings up a whole nother topic. Anything you believe in your life can be supported by science. There's a science that studies that and supports your stance on it. So take your science, throw it out the window. I speak from real world experience doing this for over 2 decades, dieting incorrectly and coaching people incorrectly for many of those years. In 2014, I started fasting. 2019, I created the Panda diet, my version of long form fasting, which differs from anybody else out there teaching fasting. I'll get into that. Physiologically, when you diet, here's what happens. When you're in a deficit, your body recognizes food as the main energy source because of the frequency at which it's coming in. Your metabolic rate is going to lower to match what you're putting in. You have metabolic slowdown. Ghrelin, your main hunger hormone, is going to continue to rise as long as you're in this deficit. Metabolic rate coming down, hunger going up. Not a good thing. Your fat burning enzymes get down regulated. Body's trying to conserve now because you are in starvation mode. This is how you get in starvation mode, dieting. And your fat burning enzymes are downregulated. I said that. Your fat storing enzymes are upregulated to prevent against this famine that might hit you again in the future. This is what happened to me when I was bodybuilding. Each time I would compete, I would set my body up to be a fat storing machine. So the next time it came time to get ready for the contest, I was starting about 10 pounds heavier than the previous year, to the point it got all up to 250 pounds. I said, what is going on? I'm in a deficit all year. I created metabolic damage. So when you do that physiologically, it is not going to work. My theory, and again, all these things out there with diet are theories. They're theories. Diets do not work the way most people think of them when you're in a deficit. Your metabolic rate can go up or down 40%. How does it go down? What I just explained, being in a deficit. How does it go up? By eating more. That's part of the feast that I teach. Now think about something like carnivore or low protein. Keto, throw that out the window. It is such nonsense and people misunderstand what keto is. It's 95% fat, very hard to execute. But think about doing carnivore, just protein. Well, how does that impact your energy? Out of the 3 macronutrients, fat, protein, and carbs, which ones make you feel the best when you eat them? If you're being realistic, I'm not talking to the people in the carnivore cult that are going to say, no matter what, it's protein. It's protein. Eating hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of grams of protein a day. I feel great. Again, very high failure rate. People don't stick with that too long. There might be the odd bird out there that's been doing it for a year or 2 years. But you even see a lot of these influencers that are part of the carnivore cult. What do? They start going back, oh, I needed to add fruit. Oh, I made a mistake. I got to blah, 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 blah. Just like the Liver King did. Not sustainable, not functional, not enjoyable. When you do a traditional diet, what's one of the biggest complaints? Hunger going up and your energy goes down. Well, what if you had more carbohydrates? So that's one main thing. Now, when we talk about psychologically, your brain will not form a habit around anything that you don't find pleasurable to do. I'm going to repeat that. Your brain won't form a habit around anything that you do not find pleasurable to do. Do you like dieting? I'll wait. I didn't hear anybody say yes, which brings up another thought. Any diet needs to be functional and sustainable. If you can't theoretically do it forever, don't even start. Unless you have a very specific time window and something you have to get ready for. But you have to know that going in. Functional, you can do it anywhere, any setting. Anywhere, any setting. Those are two key things that should enhance your energy. Now, traditional dieting, let's look back at the psychology and the mind mapping that I use. Willpower doesn't work. It's very finite. It's based in the human part of your brain. You got the triune brain, the human, the reptile, and the mammal. The human, the mammal, and the reptile. Right? The reptile is the oldest part of the brain. Willpower is based in the executive part of your brain, the human part. By the end of the day, it's spent. It's gone. This is why so many of you say, oh, Monday, I'm going to start my diet. Monday comes around, and by the evening, you find yourself snacking on stuff in your pantry or in your freezer, such as ice cream. Don't worry. It's not that you're a bad person. It's not that you don't have discipline. You're relying on willpower. Eliminate willpower. That's what I've done with the Panda diet. Sure, any habit, you need a little bit of willpower when you're starting out. But once you get in the first week, 2 weeks, willpower should be eliminated. Willpower is a recipe for failure. When you diet the traditional way, you are in a food prison. Part of the reason I created the Panda diet was I love to eat. I have a voracious appetite, legendary appetite. I'll eat 99.9% of people under the table all day long. I should actually start doing competitive eating because I think I would crush in that. But I was always in these deficits and I could never get lean unless I kept cutting to the point where my last bodybuilding show, I was eating 1,350 calories a day. I'm 220 pounds. It was miserable. But then I started doing intermittent fasting. That was better. I was like, okay, we're on to something. But I did that for 5 years and I still had to be in a deficit. And I was still tracking my food. Once I started doing long form fasting, started playing around with how much food I was eating, still tracking everything year one in 2019. I was able to double my food, right? Double my food. I started around 1,800 calories. I was about 3,500, anywhere up to 4,000 at my nightly feast. By the time that summer was done, I dropped 25 pounds and went from 16.9% body fat all the way down to 6.5% that summer. So 249 to 225. And I maintained 225 is like pretty much the highest I go. And that's my set point. And I get to have this wonderful feast every night. I get to eat until I'm full. I don't restrict carbohydrates. None of that. Now, of course, there are nutritional levers I play with depending on the time of year, depending on the look I want to go for, or health considerations. But the fasting is the principle. That should be present. Insulin, right? And let me tell you one more thing before I give you that secret mindset shift. The reason, again, the theory that I have, why people lose weight initially on a regular diet is because they're producing less insulin because they're eating less. It all comes down to insulin. I don't care what anybody says. I've done this long enough. I've experimented long enough. That is my definitive thought on this topic. Control insulin to both lose body fat and pack on muscle because insulin is the most anabolic hormone in the body. So use that to your advantage. That's part of what I teach with the Panda method, fast, feast. So go down that path and realize that as you feast and you push up that metabolic rate, you don't want to make it like some super artificial metabolic rate by taking all these stimulants. And metabolic rate is largely misunderstood, but the way you get it to bump up is through eating more. You can put on a little muscle, that's going to raise a little bit, but you have to eat more, guys. You got to get that metabolic rate healthy. Get it to the upper 40%. Now, here is the mindset shift. I'm going to give you two, actually. Actually, I'm going to give you three, since you stayed this long. Your body fat is a food source. It is fuel. That's the main reason you have it, not the only reason, the main reason. Number two, food is a drug. It affects the internal biochemical hormonal environment of the body. That's the definition of a drug. I challenge anybody to debate that. Oh, it's not. It is a drug. It fits the definition of a drug. Once you make this connection, things are going to shift. And the last one, the big one. Hunger has to be viewed as an emotion. Oh, no, it's not an emotion. View it as an emotion. And when you feel hunger, reframe it in your mind. This is what fat loss feels like. Make it a positive. Remember, you have to find this journey pleasurable to form a habit around it. That's what I got for you. This is why the Panda diet and any type of long-form fasting, if done appropriately. Again, there's a lot of people teaching long-form fasting out there that are teaching it incorrectly. They're missing pieces of the puzzle. They're still trying to stay connected to the old world of dieting, the traditional NADs, North American diets. And I'm on a mission to liberate you from dieting. Dieting sucks. No way to live. It's not sustainable. It is not functional. I did it for many years when I was bodybuilding. Speak from experience. All these other people that want to bash the Panda diet or long form fasting, they haven't done it. So they can't speak intelligently about it, guys. All right. Hit like for me if you like this. Leave a comment or a question. I can make a response video to that for you if you have anything you want me to specifically cover. And subscribe so you never miss anything I'm putting out. Peace.